All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here. 1 second. I don't know if this is working. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Bathurst, Mount Panorama, right in the middle of the fight for the lead. A complete internet disconnect on my end, and it seems like it may have kicked out some other drivers as well. ZR Amaryllis has been derailed. Now that I'm back, the entire ticker is completely irrelevant, so I can't use that in the slightest. And the game seems to think now that Green and Moonrise are fighting for 5th instead of the outright lead. We're riding in car with ESV Green right now, as he is trying desperately to close in on F1R Moonrise just ahead of him on the circuit. We're anticipating that these two will have one more stop to make, likely in about 12 minutes time. Fight for third? Well, I'm going to be honest, I have no way of knowing who's actually third right now. I think it should still be NDL Toad, but I cannot say for certain. Yeah, I think Toad is third right now. That's the only thing I have any confidence in is your top 3. So I do apologize for those of you who are invested in fights further down the line. This is what happens whenever you get kicked out and you end up joining mid-stint. The entire ticker completely breaks. And if it was a full 2 hours and it happened early on, I could probably map out where everyone is. But I'm not going to be able to do that right now. I do apologize for this. Here comes the move. Green on the outside. Pulls up alongside the Dodge of Moonrise, but Moonrise has a good run out of the final corner. We see him pull that move off several times. Thing is that Green should have a fantastic run down the front straightaway this time. Oh, hey, ticker finally fixed itself a bit. Onto the straight now. Toga's gone ahead and pitted farther down the order. Here comes the run by Green. Moonrise. Does he defend inside? Does he defend outside? What does he do? He's going to defend the inside. Green's going to go late, but he's going to go try and make the outside work, then try to cut back in. There's no room that Moonrise gives him. Moonrise holds station over Green. And these two are the only two drivers we believe are on a 6-stop strategy. They have been running soft tires all the way through, but they have both been pushing their tires about a lap farther than everyone else. Barring something absolutely absurd happening, it will be these two fighting for the win in second. No one else is going to catch them, barring something absurd like a disconnect or an accident. I hope you all like this camera angle, because this is like the first time I've ever actually been able to use it in this game for light broadcasting. Here comes the move once again. Down into the chicane. Here come our leaders, Moonrise, Green, neck and neck. And that was very easy overtake done there by Green. Nothing that you can do in Moonrise's position. The Dodge Viper does not have any ability to make a move on the straight in a defensive way. You can get good traction out of the corners, but traction out of the corners is not going to give you the ability to make overtakes unless the driver ahead makes a big mistake. And already the gap is starting to open up back in Green's favor. Moonrise might have draft off of that Mustang, but it's not going to be enough to do anything with. Okay, so it looks like the ticker has mostly fixed itself. It looks like it is Moonrise, Green, Togue, Legend, CJ, Dindu, Ardno, Dwarf, Bradders, Shadows, your top 10. Then Drewski, Dr. Ice, Freitas, RX, ZR, Amaryllis, Deleve, Habit, and Rough Driving make up the rest of the field. We have had some other drivers who were running, but they lagged out and dropped out earlier in the event. So not only does this fight go down to the stint win, it's also going to be likely for the overall event win. Moonrise and Green were pretty much right on top of each other at the end of Stint 1, and now they are right on top of each other throughout all of Stint 2. No one else has really been in a position to capitalize. And with that big twitch there by Moonrise, that will put Green in the lead, likely make his lead unassailable. So Moonrise won the first stint. Green trying to win Stint 2. We are anticipating that their last stops will come in about 4 laps or so. About 18 minutes left. And it does seem like now that it is daytime, Green has the advantage. We look at third place. This is Togue. And due to a series of circumstances, Togue is all by himself on track. None of his NDL competitors are anywhere close to him. He's going to continue to open up the distance on his rivals. And that will continue to help that team overall. The big question is likely going to be who of our 2 leaders are going to be, who's going to be taking over their cars in the final stint. Also, credit to Legend. They have recovered a bit. They are currently reigning the 4th spot after starting 6th for this stint. They have still been pitting about a lap earlier than everyone else, though, so things may not be so peachy clean. He might end up having a significant fall off at the very end of the run here. CJ in the Acura back here in 5th. Didn't do a little bit farther back in 6th, trying to dig himself out of a hole. Then you have Ardno, who's the next highest Aston Martin. So this is now the first repeat manufacturer after NWR Browers has had an incident that shunted him down the order. VER Dwarf is in the next Corvette from the VER team overall right now. Leaders coming up onto traffic once more, but the bad news for Moonrise is that they're going to catch them in a straight line. Green is going to have no problem whatsoever dispatching the majority of this traffic by the looks of it. And not only that, that is an active fight for position. That is... well, I think those are active fights for position. Maybe not. Alright, maybe that's not active fights for position. But yeah, they're going to catch them in the straightaways where Green can use his superior power to blitz by them without too much issue. If it happened in the mountain section, Moonrise might have a better shot at this, but as it stands now, this is pretty obviously going to go in Green's favor. One other thing to consider, the penalties. Moonrise has 1/1000th of a mile worth of penalties. That is 5 feet worth. So if Moonrise is right in front of Green and Green has his bumper to Moonrise's rear bumper, that would possibly give the win to Green. Otherwise, they are dead even. Also, Togue on track to bring home a penalty-free stint would be huge. P1R have an interesting position. Apparently, he has a distance penalty of nothing, so I wonder how that would be considered post-event, if he would get no penalties for that, or if that's just a hiccup on my end. Same thing with NWR Shadow. It says no distance penalties on him either. Downhill once more. Moonrise stalking Green, trying desperately to see if that Mustang will make a mistake. Mustang's been completely uncompetitive in this series until today, and only under Green's hand. Oh, put the bumper to Green there. Coming onto the start-finish straight. Looks high, looks low. He's going to try maybe to go on the outside, but Green's going to move over, block him a bit. Compromises both of their lines out of turn 1. And now it's the run uphill again. Not quite a drag race. Gonna send it around the outside. Can't make it stick. There's just no grip out there. Outside lane will never, ever work in turn 2. Not with these cars. Firing off. At the top of the hill once more. It's a little more than 20 minutes left. We're anticipating these two will make their final stop sooner rather than later. Moonrise just seems to be making a series of small mistakes, but he is right there behind Green. Green is not opening the gap and pulling away like we thought he would be able to. He made the move, but he has not been able to get away from the dodge. Running downhill once more. Nose to tail. Now we see Moonrise looking to the outside, so Moonrise has enough of a draft to pull alongside. He's got the ideal inside line, goes deep under braking. Is that the move? It is! Green backs out and Moonrise goes back to the point. And here comes Moonrise into the pit, and he'll be joined by Green, so he gets by Green just as they're coming into the pits that time. Who knows if that's going to work again, though. For NDL Togue, he is third, not likely to go ahead and pick up anything on them. Togue will likely have to make his final stop, not this lap, but next lap. Moonrise and Green will have to make their soft tires last these remaining 20 minutes. That is a big ask for them. Now, if they both put on medium tires, it will be a lot easier for both of them. But if they both put on soft tires, I think Moonrise will have a very small advantage in the fight. Uphill they go. So the gap now opens once again in Moonrise's favor. Green seems to hemorrhage a lot of time in the pits, but he is now in the daytime capable of queuing that gap down and closing it down on merit. This here is about the gap between the two of them at the end of stint 1. Oh, Green drops tires in the dirt there, but he's still on it. Thing is, Moonrise now has to deal with traffic. And it's another dodge. We saw earlier Mustangs were willing to play the team game and work with each other. Will the Dodges do the same? RX holding station. Is he going to give Moonrise a nice tow? That does seem to be the case. He's giving Moonrise a nice tow. Will he pull off? He won't pull off. He'll back down enough to let Moonrise complete the overtake. So a little bit of manufacturer aid going both ways between our two competitors here. And there goes RX pitting now. No, I'm sorry, not RX, Deleve pitting now. Fight between CJ and Dindu has gone back and forth a few times today. But for now, Dindu has it. The game says it's CJ, but Dindu has it. And CJ still wants it. Legend, not in a great position right now. They will have to pit shortly here. But when they pit, they can throw on softs and run to the end. Togue, who is just a little bit up the road, well, quite a bit up the road, actually. Similar position and everything. So Togue is likely going to be able to hold on to third, and Legend will be able to hold on to fourth by the looks of it. We look once more at the fight for second place on track. Green has actually lost ground to Moonrise early on in this stint. He's driving really aggressively, just desperately trying to make something happen here. I'm not really confident in what the ordering is outside of the top 6 positions, honestly. Legend, now having to navigate some of the same traffic that Moonrise and Green were navigating earlier. That's a McLaren up ahead he's going to have to deal with. And then will be the Dodge of Delebe just past that. Dr. Ice has made his 7th stop, so he'll be the first driver to make the last stop of the day. I'm anticipating we'll see Legend and Togue pitting this time by, but for Moonrise and Green, they're likely, whatever set of tires they're on, they are committed to it likely to the end of this run. Yep, Togue comes in this time by. And here comes Legend. We're going to try and use this to gauge what the distance is between first and second. 1001, 1002, 1003, almost 4 seconds, I calculate, between our top 2 at the moment. As everyone is knocking out their final stop of the day, HYR Freitas still on a 6-stop strategy, and it looks like TNR RX is on a 6-stop as well, but neither of them are poised to finish on the lead lap as far as I can tell here. We're going to assume that the scoreboard that the game will give us at the end will be accurate, and we're going to run with whatever the scoreboard is at the end of the stint as being the final results here. Remember, assuming there is no further internet issues that I have to deal with, we will be here for the 3rd stint about an hour. Also, it'll be closer to like 45 minutes, but about an hour after the end of this here stint 2. So do remember that, but remember also we will try to get interviews with our top finishers at the end of today's stint, so keep that in mind as well. Less than 15 minutes to go. Moonrise and Green both just kind of have to stick with whatever tires they got. Green is at 17% wear on the rears. Moonrise is at 24%. So Moonrise, I think, is on softs, and Green, I think, has put on mediums to the end. So Green is betting that Moonrise's tires are going to fall off a cliff, and he can get him at the very end here. Moonrise is betting that he can preserve enough tire life and open up enough of a gap now that Green won't be able to get him. And we don't know who's going to be in the right. But if I was a betting man, I think that Green probably has the way to go. Green will not have to worry about any serious tire fall off here. Moonrise is guaranteed to deal with some tire fall off. It's not going to be unbearable. It's not going to be impossible to deal with, but there's a possibility that Moonrise will lose this stint victory just because of tire fall off. And again, the other thing, we don't know how accurate the penalty is, but distance penalties might be the other thing that causes everything to go in Green's favor. Green still has no distance penalties. Moonrise does, at this point, still have distance penalties. Green continues to slowly lose time. The gap continues to open between the two of them. But again, tire life, Moonrise, once he hits the 50% mark, we're going to see that gap start shrinking back down here. We're going to use the points of interest camera going to turn 2 again to try and get an idea as to exactly what is the distance between the two of them in time. (1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005). About 5.5 seconds. That is not enough, I don't think. I think Green is going to have this in the bag. He's only at 25% right now with 11 minutes left. So Green will probably be at about the high 50s, low 60s. Probably just the high 50s by about the time we're at the end of the run on his tire life. But Moonrise is set to be in the 70% mark. Deep into the 70s at that. So Dindu holds on to 5th. CJ is 6th. So between Dindu and CJ, who are the 2nd and 3rd place entrants in the overall championship, right now, they're not really pulling away from each other, but Toad continues to open the overall gap on their teams. This will likely be Moonrise's last good lap here. He's trying to abuse the draft off of the Corvette ahead to give him extra distance. Not necessarily trying to pass him, just wants to get the extra distance, but it looks like the Vette's going to pull over there. Let's time the distance. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007. That's about 7 seconds. I don't think that's going to be enough. I think if you want to make this work, you're going to want to have 10 seconds. Because you will start losing ground fast. It will be well over a second that you will lose on in-track time per minute. The other thing to consider as well is that Moonrise might be gaining a bit of a draft off these drivers now, and that might be helping them right now, but once his tires are cooked, these drivers will be potentially smoother than him and will be putting pressure on to get back onto the lead lap. You don't want to be side by side through here, but Moonrise made it work. And the M8 of... well, it's not Bradders. I forgot the M8 driver's name. I apologize. Ardno. Ardno lets leaders by, and now... no, that's not Ardno. Who is that? Drewski? Yeah, it was Drewski. Okay. Neck and neck. Vette versus BMW M8. And the big thing they're going to have to deal with is the fact that that Dodge Viper, who's ahead of them now, he's going to start bleeding off time very quickly here. 49% on that right front tire. He's going to be at 50. So when we see him go down into turn 2, it will be the biggest that the gap between first and second is going to be, and it's only going to start closing down from here. With less than 8 minutes left, so they got about 3 full laps and a little bit of change left in the event. We'll use the points of interest cam again to try and calculate the gap. We think this is going to be the biggest it will get all day long. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007. That's still only about 7 seconds. I think that Green is going to get him. It's going to be close, but I think Green's going to get him and open up about a 50-foot gap on him in the last minute. The other thing as well is that Green has no distance penalty. Moonrise does have distance penalty. So if Green just gets right behind Moonrise's rear wing, it's over. Oh, that was a big slide there. I still can't find who it was. Drewski. There we are, Drewski. Where's Drewski's tires at? He's only at 30%. So he's going to have a bit of a tire advantage over ESV Green here going forward. So when Green catches him, Green's going to have to manually figure out a way to get by. For Bradders, who is the driver he had been fighting with, the other driver between our top two right now, he's at 32. So, yeah, Bradders is also going to have an advantage here in tire life. So Green will have to catch them and figure out a way by. Now, again, if these drivers choose to just move off the track, won't be an issue. But that's a bold assumption. I don't know if I would run on that assumption. Six minutes left. So you'll get this lap, another full lap, and a good chunk of a third lap. And we're now seeing the gap start to shrink between our top two. Moonrise is now in the 58% range when it comes to tire life. Looking at point of interest, we'll time it again. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007. Okay, it still seems to be at about 7 seconds, so the gap's not really shifted for several laps this time by. Penalty says 600ths. Let's do a little bit of calculation here. That'd be a 316 feet. So if Green can get within 316 feet of Moonrise, Green will steal the stint win. I think Green's going to get him. Even if he doesn't overtake him on track, I think he's going to get him when it comes to distance once penalties are taken into account. And now Bradders trying to get back onto the lead lap here. How much of a problem is he going to give Moonrise in the leading Dodge Viper? Moonrise actually gets under the brakes. He just wants to run in the draft of the vet, I imagine, down the straight here. Gap's rapidly closing now. They'll get this lap and the majority of one more. He's not close enough to get any draft off of the vet, not this time. Oh boy, that gap is just about cooked. If you look at the tire life, 66, 67%. There's no way on earth that this works out. Green has this one by default, pretty much. And I think the big problem, though, is that even if Moonrise put on medium tires, the sheer speed advantage that Green would have let him get by and clear Moonrise without issue. I think this was just a unwinnable scenario this time. In the same way that Green kind of locked himself in an unwinnable scenario due to pit stop kerfuffles earlier, I think this is also going to end up being an unwinnable scenario for Moonrise. There's just no way for him to make it work. Still, Green is not in perfect scenario. His tires are also starting to wear. He'll hit the 50% mark very shortly here, and that will cut into his ability to close down the gap, but he'll finish this lap. He's only got one more, the majority of one more lap afterwards. Now Green is going to have to work his way around Drewski here in the BMW M8. But you can see the next car on track right there. And again, if he's just within 300 feet, he'll have it by default. doesn't have to pass him on track, although I'm sure he would love to. He just needs to be within 300 feet of him. He may not even have to pass Drewski, with how quickly now Moonrise has bled off time. He's going to catch him. Now, will he be able to pass him in the twisties? Drewski is going to pull up alongside and try to get back on the lead lap here. 90 seconds left. There they are. They're just about nose to tail into turns 3 and 4. Green trying to go the long way around. He's made this work before. Can he make it work again? Side by side. Door banging. There's no room. They both get into the wall. Moonrise puts the power down. But again, distance penalty means that Green can be right here and still win this. Tries to pull alongside. You don't want to be side by side in the mountain section, but Green is getting impatient. Trying to force his way through. Into the wall. Again. And that's going to be it. Or is it? No, that's it. It's over. The inverse of Stint 1. Stint 1 was a no-win scenario for Green. Stint 2 is a no-win scenario for Moonrise. If Moonrise put on the medium tires, sure, he wouldn't have had any tire fall off, but Green would have just destroyed him lap on lap with the straight line speed. It's a no-win scenario for both drivers in one of the 2 stints thus far. And this will finally give the Mustang its first top step on the podium result in any of the stints in P1R's SEC series. As you see the clock wind down, time's up, over, plow. And there's your end result, and that is a pretty significant advantage in Green's favor. So it looks like the ESV team is going to go to the top overall, and Togue will maintain third on track. So we're going to go ahead and try to reach out to our top finishers here and see if they have anything they want to say about their run today.